Virgo 11. A boy moulded in his mother's aspiration for him. In other words, the mother really wants her son to become exactly what she imagines him to be in potential terms. And there's a lot of this going on. A lot of parents really expect their children to grow up like them, and worse, in a sense, to fulfill potential that the parents didn't fulfill themselves. They just got to live out their own dreams. The parents live out their own dreams through the children, and that pressure is real, and it's very often, in fact, mostly unconscious in the child. Well, in fact, probably the parents too. But the child grows up expecting that the success story of life is to be like dad or to be like mum, and maybe a little bit better, to go one further. So we're studying this phenomenon and why it exists and what we can do in response to this pressure that we feel. And we can look at it in the ancestral sense. The sense we have is that as individuals we're part of a stream coming from the past to the future, a river of evolution, of development of qualities, very often possessions too. At the highest level, this could be the passing on of actually a country. There are hierarchies that pass on their countries to their offspring, or land or money. It's enacted on that physical plane. And yet we're wiser, perhaps, to look at this at the highest level. The soul has its own yearning to improve. Everything which exists has that sense of growth. In the physical world of vegetables and animals, things tend to get bigger as they get older. But when it comes to humans, we tend to get wiser, more knowledgeable at least, as we get older. And when it comes to souls, as they develop through their experiences of being, souls become more and more pristine, perfect expressions of a certain batch of qualities. So the soul concerns itself with qualities which it considers to be appropriate for its self-expression, such as truth and love and nobility and integrity and these kind of things, perhaps creativity and musicality and so on. Now, as the soul incarnates, it continues that journey, and in fact it's taught that there is no faster track of soul development than incarnation. So those of us who have incarnated, in other words, all of us, we're quite courageous as souls, because we take on this immensely challenging task of coping with physicality. Physicality is the other end of existence to the soul. The soul isn't physical and doesn't really express itself very easily in physical form. It's a prison. The soul can't fly when it has a body. It can't express itself fully, and the qualities that are soulful qualities aren't much rewarded or appreciated even in this physical realm. So the soul, all of us, we have a really hard time coping with the earth plane. But if we do cope, then the rewards are immense when eventually we leave, when we die, when we go to the next plane. We have this tremendous capacity for creativity and understanding and influence and joy, much increased by our having overcome challenges on the earth plane. So the soul is on track of an evolutionary track and wants to live its evolution out through the ego, through the body that we're incarnated into right now. not as events and scenarios or results, no consequence to the soul, but in terms of development of qualities. Now, of course, the development of anything holds with it two aspects, in a sense. If we think about our relationship to our parents and their wishes for us, a part of us, perhaps unconscious, perhaps willingly, feels duty, feels a sense of wanting to do what our parents have in mind for us in a dutiful way. And this is a lot bigger in some countries than other countries. America is very strong on this. Britain less so now. It used to be the case 100 or 200 years ago. It was very definitely the case. But not so much nowadays. Now, this sense of wanting to do what the parents have you to do is the enactment of duty. Rebelliousness against that is the other side of the coin. And it has to be understood that on every level there is no compulsion to do what the parents want you to do. They're offering the compulsion, but we don't have any existential duty. We don't cease to exist if we refuse to do what our parents want us to do. And in fact, we're more likely to find joy if we transfer that sense of duty away from the parents to what the soul wants. The same principle applies. We don't really, as an ego, have a duty to the soul. That's not the argument. The argument is really that the soul really does know best. The parents thinking that they know best for the child is false. It's an arrogance. It's a bullying practice. But the soul really does know what the ego would find most joyful. And this is the difference, that the soul can only know goodness. And the parents, they come from a place of ego, so they can know whatever they choose to know, and that's largely shadowy stuff. So if we actually take on this sense of having a duty to enact the soul's wishes for us, the first duty that we have to perform is coping with life. The price that the soul pays for its evolution in this fast-track sense is the suffering that goes along with incarnation. It's hard down here on earth. It's hard. By definition, it's hard. It is what hardness is. The crystallization of energy into its tightest coalescence, its tightest form. It is hardness, the earth plane. And it's hard for us to cope. When we tune into soul consciousness, we're aware of the soul finding it hard. And yet, there's the upside of this is that even though physicality is a burden that we learn the strength to cope with, there's another side to the coin, and that is that the soul loves to dance, and that's its fundamental essence nature, is to dance, is to just to move itself according to its feelings. And if that's not what dance is, then I've learned wrongly. So we can only dance with a physical body here on earth. And it's a tremendous joy to be able to take the soul's dance into the physical body and actually physically dance. And we only get the chance to dance here on earth. And we could extend that to include music. Whatever the soul feels to be a potential musical expression. Down here, we get to hear it. We get to know our own music. And this music and dance expression of the human species, it's almost its only saving grace, really. Not much else has the human species achieved which is worth a light, in my opinion. But we can sing and we can dance, we can play music. And we can do that better than any other animal, any other thing at all. That's our thing. So this essential degree of Virgo 11 is all to do with deciding how much you take on of your parents' requirements of you, and how much you actually take on of your soul's requirements of you.